Okay, so last Wednesday I posted 3 videos: a review of What If Episode 4, a fan cast of the Fantastic Four for the MCU, and a parody of Welcome to the Internet from Bo Burnham's Inside with the lyrics written by myself. And originally I had 4 videos lined up for that day, but those first 3 just kind of piled up. The fourth one was going to be a review of Monsters at Work, the whole first season. I watched the final episode last Wednesday when it came out, but I don't know. I was pretty exhausted that day because I had filmed and recorded 3 consecutive videos, and it was tiring. So I decided to put off the Monsters at Work review for today, or whenever I had time. I was busy. I've been busy the past couple days, and I did want to. First off, I wanted to say thank you because somehow I have 22 subscribers and over 1,000 views on this channel. And weirdly enough, one of my videos has over 500 views, which I have no idea why. I can't explain it, but it's a lot more than I expected to gain in the few months that I've been shooting videos on this platform. So thank you to everyone who has subscribed to this channel, who watches these videos. Yes, thank you very much. So let's talk about Monsters at Work. So it's a sequel to the original Monsters Inc. And honestly, if any of those like first 7 classic Pixar movies, Toy Story to Cars, warranted a sequel, I'd say it was either The Incredibles or Monsters Inc. Because I don't know, there's a lot of interesting world building in the first Monsters Inc. that really could be expanded upon. But instead we got a prequel that, while it's really good, I like it. As you can see by my hat, I got this like 7 years ago when the movie first came out. Or after the movie first came out, but anyway. Yeah, I really like Monsters University. But in terms of a proper follow-up to the first movie, it's not great. No, it is not. I mean, there are some additions to the world of Monsters Inc., but overall, I feel like they could have done something interesting with perhaps an adult Boo. I've seen many people online talk about how that could have been a possibility, and I'm pretty sure there was a canceled Monsters Inc. sequel that was in development. I'm pretty sure, but no, we just got a prequel, and the prequel was good. It was fine, but there wasn't a whole lot about the story that was specific to Monsters Inc. Like it's kind of just a whole nerdy kids prove to popular people that they can be cool too. That's kind of it. And yeah, there's not a whole lot to it. But there's a lot of potential in a sequel for Monsters Inc. And does Monsters at Work explore any of this? That is the big question. And it explores some of it, kind of. I do like how Monsters at Work is a direct continuation. How it kind of establishes how difficult it would be completely adjusting how the monster world is powered, and they did some of that, and I liked that. So let's start off with some positive, because Monsters at Work is not the worst thing I've seen this year. It has some pretty good elements. I really, really like that they got every living actor that was in the first movie, and even some who were in Monsters U, to return to voice their characters. I mean, it's Disney. They're a juggernaut of an entertainment company. And not only did they get Billy Crystal and John Goodman, but they got Bob Peterson, the voice of Roz, Jennifer Tilly, the voice of Celia, and Alfred Molina, the voice of the professor guy from Monsters University. He was only in like 1 scene, and it's really cool that they got him back. The one person who didn't come back was the guy who voiced those two the guys who run the door shredder, Needleman and Smitty, because that actor unfortunately passed away. The guys who talk like this. I love those two. Anyway, and I'll admit, there are some solid jokes in here. I like how it kind of goes into a little bit of a little bit more mature humor. Like there's this one character named Cutter who is really funny at first, and she always talks about how her coworkers are always killed in the most gruesome of ways, and it was hilarious. I really like Mike and Sully in the show. Crystal and Goodman haven't skipped a beat. They just sink right back into these characters, and I don't know, they're so good together. They still have the amazing chemistry. The Abominable Snowman shows up, still voiced by John Ratzenberger, so that's cool. And there's a whole episode where it's about him, and a lot of it is focused on not him. There's the stuff that is focused on him is actually pretty good. Also, there's the intro, which I was shocked when I first saw this intro. It's an a cappella version of the main theme from the original movie. And it's so good. It's amazing. It's only like 30 seconds long. It's the best thing about the show, by far. And then for the credits of like the last episodes 5 to 9, they did these different musical styles for the end credits, so that was cool. But then we get into some problems. So this series could have done something interesting. It could have focused on Sully and Mike running the company. It could have focused on Boo and what that would have been like for her to adjust after living in the world of monsters for a couple days. That could have been interesting. Show doesn't do any of that. Boo gets like one mention in the final episode, and that's it. They never mention Randall. They barely mention Waternoose, and it bothers me how this show really didn't do anything that it could have done, that we could have gotten from a Monsters, Inc. sequel, but nope. We get some new characters that I really don't like. So, yeah, let's do that. And I'm just going to start with some nitpicks. Some of the comedy is kind of lame. Like, when it gets more childish, I think I don't care. And it's not, like, insufferable. There are elements of it that are insufferable, but some of just the jokes that they tell just didn't really work for me. They'll probably work for, like, younger kids. And I know I'm not the target audience for this show, but for younger kids, they'll probably like it. The animation is good, but I mean, it's a TV show. I'm not going to fault the quality of the animation for being lesser than that of the first movie or Monsters U. But the new character designs are so bad. They're so bad. Mindy Kaling's character looks like a redesign of Art, the purple dude from Monsters University. Henry Winkler's character looks like a giant blue booger. This one dude called Duncan, he just kind of is Randall. But I'll get to that. You know what? Let's talk about these new characters now, shall we? Because I hate every single one of them. As I said, there's this crab lady named Cutter, who does start out as being funny, but then she kind of stops being so. And while she's probably my favorite of the 5 main characters, because she starts out funny, but I mean, by the end of the show, she doesn't become insufferable. She just becomes not super funny or interesting at all. Then there's this dude called Duncan who really doesn't like our main character, Tyler, because he thinks he's going to take his job, which he doesn't even have yet. And again, Duncan is literally just Randall, except without any of the fun that Randall had. He has a very annoying voice that just annoys me personally, and he never acts on his jealousy. Like, Randall is kind of a whiny little twerp, but he builds a machine and he banishes Mike and Sully because he wants to be on top. Duncan doesn't do anything all he does is insult Tyler and call him college boy. And I don't know, he just doesn't work for me. I don't care about his, I don't even want to call it this, plights. I don't like him. And then there's Val, voiced by Mindy Kaling. And it's weird, because they got some really good voice actors to play these characters. Mindy Kaling, Henry Winkler. Those are two very funny people. So this character, Val, that she voices, is really, really annoying. And she gets kind of less annoying as it goes on. She's sweet. She's nice. She's a very kind person. But the whole thing where she just talks really fast and she's like a motor mouth, she's kind of like Kelly Kapoor from The Office, who is also played by Mindy Kaling, except with Kelly Kapoor, the writing was good. And with this character, the whole talking fast gimmick, how she just never takes a breath, really, really, really gets old. This is not the fault of Kaling. I think she's hilarious. I think she's a very funny actress and a very funny writer, but this character is written so poorly. And then she's convinced that she and Tyler are like best pals because they had this one class together in college, and she keeps bringing it up, and it never stops. It just keeps going and going. God, I don't like her. Then there's Henry Winkler's character, who, again, I like Henry Winkler. I think he's a funny dude. I haven't seen Happy Days. I have seen Parks and Recreation, which he had like a recurring role in, and he was funny. But I really, 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 really don't like this character. He's always like super fun and like, oh, I love things all the time, and it really, really gets on my nerves. And then, like, he always treats Tyler like he's his son, like he's the greatest person alive. And then whenever he has to express emotion, he actually says the word of the emotion. Like, for example, if he's sad, he will actually say the words, sad sigh, and do this little head droopy thing, like, walk away, and it's so annoying. And he gets more annoying as the show goes on. Like, he started out, he was annoying, but then it just all piles up, and it gets more and more obnoxious. But then, all of those characters that I just talked about, they pale in comparison to the awfulness of this one character. And that is our lead character himself, Tyler Tuskman. I can't stand this guy. As annoying as I find Arlo from The Good Dinosaur, Tyler Tuskman is the worst Pixar character I have ever seen. He is so obnoxious. His voice really, really, really annoys me. He does this where he kind of stutters along through his sentences, and it's like, I hate it. And then he is so unbelievably selfish, even though everybody else, all those other characters, are really nice to him. They treat him like a god. They treat him like the chosen one. Oh, it's Tai, and he's the greatest person alive because he's the best monster ever. And he never once considers their feelings, except for maybe a couple scenes in the last episode. He only exclusively acts in his own self-interest. Like, every time he has the opportunity to do something nice for someone else, he only sees it as an opportunity to help himself, to do things for his benefit and his benefit alone. And that just drives me insane. Because, like, there's the episode with the Abominable Snowman. And aside from thinking, oh, there's a banished monster who could be dangerous that's loose in the monster world, and they And he decides to... what does he do? He takes it as an opportunity to help his career. When he accidentally loses the hair of a dead co-worker of the other characters, what does he do? He tries to cover it up because he's afraid that it might hurt his career. Also, he comes so close to dying in that episode, and I so wanted him to get ground into pieces. Also, he looks ridiculous. Like, what? I'm usually pretty good at coming up with, like, what bad designs for characters look like. This guy, I can't think of anything. I've never seen something like him before. It's weird. And then, the worst part about this is every time you think that he's gonna get redemption, he just goes right back to his old selfish ways. He deserves nothing. Especially what happens to him at the end of the show, becoming a jokester. Everything that the show did just proved to me that this guy deserves nothing. He is so unbelievably unlikable that, okay, I swear, I want to rip his stupid tiny horns, not tiny, large horns, out of his weirdly fruit-shaped head, and I want to stab him into his disproportionately thin chest, rip out his giant arms, and then use them to chop off those tiny little stumps that he calls legs. I hate this character. And while this show is not so bad that I'd be willing to say that I hate it, because I don't hate it. There are things about it that I like. But I hate many, many aspects of it, specifically the main character and his non-arc. So, yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and give Monsters at Work a D. It's got some good stuff in it, but it also has some really bad stuff in it, like Tyler, that just drags it down like an anvil tied to the bottom of a balloon. But, I mean, it's got enough good stuff to keep it afloat. So, is it terrible? No. Is it the worst thing or even TV show that I've seen this year? No. Jupiter's Legacy. That's worse. That's much worse. And, so, yeah. It had so much potential, but I just really didn't care for this show. It didn't appeal to me. I hope to... I don't know, the ghosts of Walt Disney, that we don't get a second season of this. Because A, there's nowhere for the story to go. Like, they wrapped up everything they needed to wrap up. I mean, Disney will probably make a second season to make more money, but yeah, anyway. You can tell it from my lyrics to Welcome to Modern Disney that I have some issues with how Disney is being operated right now. But anyway, that's a whole other can of worms. So, what did y'all think of this show? Thank you for watching. Keep calm and watch on.